Right. So good morning. Today a short one, and actually that's not such bad thing because I would basically like to wrap up and close off the whole topic of populism. Um, and I would like to kind of recap our main points and the reason why I chose populism, and then maybe close off with a 5 minute video about Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, because I believe that Boris Johnson is that's not only I believe that, but Boris Johnson is very similar to Donald Trump as a politician, but not only as a politician, they even look alike. So populism, we have been discussing populism for a few weeks now, and so what is populism? Actually, populism is a kind of a movement that pitches the people against the elite, and populists, you have all kinds of populists. Basically, what a populist wants to do, he or she wants to emancipate the people by making them aware of their oppressors, and the basic strategy of a populist is to polarize, not to unite, but to polarize the people versus the elite, or versus the oppressor, or a populist, different from democratic politician.
But the side of ordinary people, right?
Right, right. So basically, a populist is trying to, or claiming to represent the people, and he's gaining support by actually making the people aware of how they have been mistreated or how they have been dealt a bad hand, versus the people who have control over them. So we have populists like, for example,
typical case is like Hitler.
Hitler. Yeah.
Like
Hitler is definitely a
also
populist.
Italian.
Yeah.
And you told me that Italian government, and anything else. Boris Johnson, Trump. Those are people populist.
Right, and I think also Marine Le Pen fits
Marine
into
Le Pen.
Yep, the Five-Star movement is also an example.
Actually, Italy is leading by union.
Yeah,
two parties. Union leading.
Yeah. No, that's right. But Five-Star movement is also a typical
leftist. Yes.
Yeah, it's also a typical populist party. So what they are trying to do is not exactly trying to raise the people, not like, for example, during communism, they try to basically give power to the proletariat, to the people who did not have anything against the capitalist movement, want to raise them up. But basically, they try to restore what's rightfully theirs. So they're trying.
You're talking about Soviet?
Yeah.
Soviet is populist?
Not populist. So to give you an example of what is not populism, so the critical factor into determine whether some movement is populist or not is that basically a populist will try to just restore the balance, or try to give back to the people what is rightfully theirs. So Trump is also typically tapping into this into the strategy. So make America great again. He's trying to give back the people what they want. He's reactionary, reversing trends and giving people the impression that they will get back what they want, what belongs to them. But I think that what's happening, the bigger picture is that globalization will be very difficult to reverse. So
You
polarizing
mean the populist is trend is focusing on nationalism?
is focusing on nationalism. Not always. I think another example of a populist is Hugo Chavez.
Oh, Hugo Chavez.
Hugo Chavez is not really a nationalist, but is also a populist. Basically, not really trying to raise the people, but
Just only focus on ordinary people.
yes,
Oh,
focus on ordinary people,
I see.
and basically trying to win their favor by playing them against whoever is suppressing them.
Right.
So it's usually it's an opportunistic movement, and very often the populist should be a little bit questioned, because very often the populist is mainly after his own political gain, not the best interest of the people, but his own or his or her own political
Oh, that
gain.
means Greece is the same.
Greece is also a populist movement.
Tsipras.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So basically, to get power versus democracy, which basically puts more emphasis on pluralism, and open debate, and fair competition. So democracy thrives only if you look at if you have a fair debate, if you look at the facts, and if you discuss the facts on its merits, and if you try to work with the system. So it's trying to build bridges and tries to give them representation in power. So not trying to play us versus them, but tries to unite. So that's the difference between populism and democracy. So what we are seeing is that there are many countries at the moment where there are tendencies towards populism, and the reason is why is basically because there are many countries where people are left behind, where there is a big potential for political gain, because people have not been addressed. In a lot of countries like the UK, you see that there is still politics are very much about.
You mean leave behind the desire of people?
Yeah, well, people actually
They are not satisfied.
they are not satisfied because they see that their wages are not increasing. They see that other people are getting very rich and they are left behind. Their wages are not increasing. Some people lose their jobs. People who have been in the center of society, the middle class, they gradually see their position deteriorating. So they are angry. They see that their children are less well off than they were, and they see that that they want to blame that on somebody, and very often. In Europe, at least, and in the United States now, people are pointing at foreigners. And
It's interesting, not in Asia.
It's not in Asia.
Right? It's interesting.
It's not in Asia, I think. Yeah, you're right.
Not in Middle East, not in Africa. Just on advanced countries.
Well, it's in Northern Asia. I think there is in Russia, in Kazakhstan. This kind of
Kazakhstan?
Kazakhstan.
No, this is a typical authoritarian country.
It's a very authoritarian country.
No populists. They don't consider their people.
But they have also populist.
No. Russia is
Russia wants
is a tendency, not Putin, but tendency for new emerging elites consider for people.
But when you look at what's happening there is that a lot of people are being left behind, right? In those economies, in those societies, because they see that under communism they still had stability, they had labor, they had a guaranteed jobs, and a lot of people have been poor. Now, what happened there is that basically a new Tsar took over, like in Kazakhstan, in Russia. But I wouldn't be surprised if populism could easily overthrow, especially Kazakhstan.
I don't understand. What do you mean?
Well, okay, let's forget about the Kazakhstan move because it's not happening there yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if it would happen. But I mean, we will see it when it happens.
Okay, Central Asia is every country heavy authoritarian,
Yeah,
like dictatorship,
Mm.
prevailing.
at the moment. Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be like a populistic or democratic. I don't think so. Very strong, governing by completion.
Well, actually, Kazakhstan is at risk now.
Really?
Well, Kazakhstan not at risk. Maybe there is a potential for a change. Now, their leader, after maybe 30 years or something,
Yeah.
he's stepping
Yeah,
down,
suddenly, but,
and some kind of like a puppet from him is taking over.
Exactly.
And now there are a lot of protests from the people to end it. So the people are really unhappy with.
Under dictatorship, every people are unhappy. So always they are depressed
Mm.
and depressed. So they cannot against the government.
Mm.
Okay, move on.
All right. So actually, populism can be both left wing and right wing. As I already mentioned, we have Trump, who I believe is a kind of right wing populist.
Yeah.
But if we look at Chavez, is a typical left wing populist.
Mhm,
It can be. It can be both because actually it doesn't really fit into the left wing, right wing.
Mhm.
It's more about nationalism versus versus globalism.
That's right.
And because the problems today, they're not really about capitalism and socialism. They're about globalism, about automation, about the potentials of globalization, and the enormous riches that are being accumulated by a few, and so many people who are left behind. And that is a very fertile political ground for populists to step into.
Are you talking about Hong Kong?
No. No, I don't think it has anything to do with Hong Kong.
Hong Kong people is very frustrating.
Yes.
The government.
But that has to do with the fact that the government is actually trying to is trying to move Hong Kong closer into China, and that's what the Hong Kong people don't want.
The world watching them, just what you said, moving toward people,
Right.
right?
Right.
1 million people protest against government.
Right.
Carrie Lam is at the edge of her control.
Yeah.
So I saw, depending on your opinion, looks like a populist. Populist will going to get something instead of current government.
Well, but I don't think this is so much about populism. This is really about democracy. I think what people are aiming for is democracy, not
Chinese
just
government
populism.
influence, right? All right.
So, but why could it happen? I mean, what are the what are the circumstances that will actually lead to populists to try to seize power? Basically, what populists are basically using are divisions that already exist in society, like young versus old, rich versus poor, the highly educated versus the low educated. So basically, wherever there are democracies that are not functioning so well, that are not inclusive, where people are being left out, there are opportunities for populists to step into and to try to mobilize these people and make them aware of their poor situation and try to get their support so that they can get control.